traditional potion. We do have a full veterinary staff here. How many Pokemon did you spot in areas 1 through 4 that were shiny? Alright, I'm just going to enter it into our database here through my Poké gear. Go ahead.
Do you copy? Tyranitar has breached the paddock. I repeat.
Well, I remember I do have that first aid job. Ah, you must be the one that I'm training today. Alright, just give me one moment. I'm using the Pokemon Trainer Simulation feature on my Poké gear. Just need to save my progress. Alright, and there we are. Okay, so I did notice you are a few minutes late. Is that typical for you, or just first aid jitters, or getting to know the route on the way here? Alright, so not typical. Great. Well, we can just start fresh and get started on your first day of training here. Okay, well, I am Ranger Chip, one of the senior rangers here at the Pika Poké Park. It's great to meet you and great to have you aboard. And by the way, great job in that interview with that curveball question they threw at you. I heard about the hidden nature for the Magikarp. That was impressive. I'm sure that's what landed you to the job as well. Well, today we have, let's double check that. Yes, we do have a slated 2-part training, so looks like they have me taking you through areas 1 through 4 of the Pika Poké Park. I'll show you some of the Pokemon that you can expect to see in those areas, as well as some of the tips for dealing with them and some of the job responsibilities that come along with that. Oh, and it looks like they have you slated for a first day assessment as well. That's exciting. So how that's going to work is we here at the Pika Poké Park are well known for housing a variety of shiny Pokemon. Are you familiar? Okay, right, it's just Pokemon that have a variation in color, pigment, in their fur, scales, or skin. And we would like that all of our employees have a very strong grasp on what the traditional colors for each Pokemon are and which Pokemon are shiny, right? That way you can point it out to guests and people who are touring the park. So throughout the tour or first day training today, we would like you to look out for shiny Pokemon, and at the end of today, we're going to be quizzing you on which Pokemon are shiny and how many you saw. All right? You think you've got what it takes? I'm sure you do. So, would you care to get started? Perfect. Okay. One thing to always remember, make sure that you always have your uniform on and have your Poké Park backpack with you. This is going to house all of your needed tools and feed for the Pokeblocks, right? For any of the Pokemon, as well as your Pokeball. You did bring a Pokemon with you, correct? In case any of the Pokemon want to, try to get a bit territorial and challenge you for a battle. Good. Well, we are going to take you through some of the, less dangerous areas that we have. We'll keep the predator Pokemon habitats and things like that a bit more of the riskier job aspects. We'll keep that or save that for a later time when you have a bit more experience. How does that sound? Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and head to Area 1 and get started. All right, right this way. And here we are at our first area. This is Area 1. We like to call this the Rocky Plains biome for obvious reasons. It has a mixture of trees, grassy areas, as well as rocks for habitat and shelter for some of the rock type or ground type Pokemon, or any Pokemon that feels safe around them. So, what do you think? Right, it's quite active for this time of day. This is usually when some of the employees come around and feed and care for the Pokemon and do their spot checks. So what we're doing now is kind of what we call a spot check. So one thing you should always do is have your Pokeball at the ready. This is just in case some of the Pokemon get a bit aggressive. Like I said, this is a low risk area, meaning we have no predator Pokemon. And so if a Pokemon does kind of intimidate intimidate you a little bit, then you can just make sure you have your Pokemon at the ready for a quick Pokemon battle, and then it's usually just back to business. But most of the time, maybe 99.99% of the time, it's not something you're going to need. The other item that you're going to need to carry with you is just your traditional potion. We do have a full veterinary staff here that will care for each of the Pokemon in case they really need something that's crucial or urgent. But if they just have maybe a slight ailment or aren't feeling themselves, then you can just apply a standard potion and get that Pokemon feeling back to its full potential. So a few of the Pokemon to keep an eye out here for or be aware of during your spot check. You always want to make sure that we have our curious little Donphan here. This Donphan has a quite curious nature and is going to approach you usually first before any of the other Pokemon. It likes to get those little treats with its snout before any of the other Pokemon realize that it's time to feed. So don't be afraid. It's completely harmless, extremely friendly, and enjoys gentle pats on the snout, so always feel free, but always respect the Pokemon. Keep in mind that these Pokemon are all here for rehabilitation purposes. After they fully regain their strength and confidence, they then are released back into the wild, unless, of course, they prefer to stay, and then that's always an option. We always keep the Pokemon's needs and wants at the highest priority. Alright, other Pokemon in this area that we want to look out for are Graveler. Usually hangs out there around the rocks and usually keeps to itself, sometimes a bit grumpy, especially if it feels like some of the other Pokemon are getting too much food. So make sure that you always make it feel safe and always kind of show the food to Graveler and ensure that it's always going to get a fair share. So that usually keeps it in a more cheerful mood. Other Pokemon, we usually have a quite devious Durant that hangs around here, but sometimes it's not usually up to company, so it sticks to itself a bit. But try to always make sure that you get eyes on it, make sure that it's feeling well and accounted for. The Pokemon rarely venture out of their paddocks here, but they, from time to time, feel like they need to explore some of the other biomes, but they quickly realize that those biomes are not conducive to their overall well-being. So other Pokemon that we have here in this area are, of course, Sparrow that flock into the trees, and occasionally we'll have a Mankey here and there, but sometimes they like to sleep during this time of day, so sometimes they're hard to see or hard to find. But any questions about the Pokemon that we have? Actually, if you can hold that thought, I'm actually getting a call on my Poké gear. Go ahead.
Do you copy? Tyranitar has breached the paddock. I repeat.
Well, remember I do have that first day job training that I'm taking the new hire through.
Requesting immediate backup. I repeat.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Just follow procedure. And call Dan. I'm sure he can help.
Toward the main road.
Right, but I've got to go. Sorry. Well, good luck. Not to worry, just some issues on the other side of the park. Not a problem at all. But like I said, the Pokemon here are the ones that you see before you are the ones that you'll need to care for and make sure that you have eyes on and can account for. So your primary job description and responsibility that you have as a new hire is just spot checking. So you want to make sure that every day at open and close of the park you come through your areas, which area 1, you find it on the list, mark down each of the Pokemon that you see, and also mark any Pokemon that you are unable to visually spot, and then they'll usually send in a veteran ranger to search for the Pokemon. Any questions? And of course, through feeding time, make sure that you feed each and every one of the Pokemon. Alright, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and head to Area 2. Right this way. And here we are in Area 2. This is more of the wooded plains biome. We have a lot more trees, but still with that grassy plains area. Let me go ahead and check the current list of Pokemon to make sure that we aren't overlooking anything. You can go ahead and take a look around while I'm looking. What's that? Right, no, not to worry. The Kangaskhan is just has a bit of a protective nature, but it's usually harmless. Now, make sure if the baby Kangaskhan is out of the pouch, you do not approach. At that time, you want to let a senior ranger like myself take care of that and take care of the feeding, because at that time, this could see an elevation from low risk to very, 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 very high risk. So best to always practice caution. Okay, we also do have a slacking in this area. Usually quite lazy. You're going to most of the time have to bring that food to the slacking. It's rarely ever going to get up and come over to accept the food. So go ahead and approach it when you need to feed it. It's absolutely no danger at all. It's most of the time going to be asleep, but if it's not, it will just reach a lazy hand out and take the food. Right. We also have a very healthy population of centrid in this area. You can usually see them dotted throughout the trees and skittering here and there, and they'll usually, if you just pour the food in a bowl, that's kind of how they prefer to have their food distributed to them, and then they'll just huddle around and feed as they want and then head back into the trees. Right, and we do have a Sudowoodo that is stationed here in this area, but as most Sudowoodo are known to be, it's quite shy and likes to act like it's not moving at all and act like a tree. So sometimes you can spot it moving from place to place, but usually you have to keep a keen eye out for it, and eventually you'll spot it. But make sure that you diligently look for it, because the rangers do not like to be called for an emergency search only to find the Sudowoodo just hiding amongst the trees. So make sure that you take your time and look for it. Any questions? Great. Well, this area is one of the more, I think, a bit more of the risky areas in terms of the low risk, just because of that Kangaskhan. But in order to feed the Kangaskhan, when the infant is pouched, just approach slowly, never make eye contact, and just place that food on the ground, usually within 5 to 10 meters of that Kangaskhan, and then back away slowly, and it will have absolutely no issue with you. If you do run up too quickly, you might just get, a slam or double edge attack that is rather uncomfortable. All right, but beyond that, 1 second, I am getting another call. Copy, go ahead.
Ranger Hank reporting 8 Scythers. Area 5. I repeat, 8
All right, well, what you're going to want to do is get the bug nets extra large. Right. While I am on a first job training, well, if you knew, then why are you calling? I'm sure you can handle it. Maybe you need a bug net in either hand. Right, well, they just watch out for the claws. You'll be fine. If you do need some help, I know Ranger Dan might actually be a bit preoccupied, so you may have to call someone else. But I'll check back in when I get back to the station. Good luck. We're always willing to lend a helping hand to anyone on the staff that needs help, so don't hesitate to call someone like myself or Ranger Dan, anyone like that, and I'm sure they'll get out to help you immediately. But let's go ahead and head to Area 3. All right. And here we are at one of my favorite areas in the Pika Poké Park. This is Area 3, also known as Floral Grove. This is one of the more quiet areas. It's a bit more relaxed and chill than Area 1 and 2, and it houses a lot more of the smaller Pokemon that need a little bit more of a delicate area to roam around. So Pokemon that you can expect to see in this area and are responsible for spot checking as well as feeding are, of course, Jumpluff there. Jumpluff always enjoys the sunny days and hovering around those flowers and pollinating areas. It's always a happy Pokemon, cheerful, and is easily and excited to be fed. So you can actually feed it out of your hand and it will be happy. You can give it a little bit of a pat on the cotton puffs there, and it's always a really nice Pokemon to interact with. Other Pokemon, right, we do have Kricketune. Kricketune will usually try to stay nestled in the grass there, so if it doesn't want to come out, just similar to the Sentret in Area 2, you can just leave that food in a small dish. It's usually scattered around here in the grass somewhere. It likes to pick it up and move it. So find its dish, pour it in, and just kind of signal to Kricketune that its food is ready. And once you're kind of out of the area, it will kind of saunter over there and eat out of the dish, and it will enjoy its food that way. But it's usually easy to find. You'll usually hear it singing and using its Kricketune cries to fill the air with the sounds that Kricketune are known to make. Other Pokemon, we do have Dunsparce. Always keep an eye out when walking around Area 3 for Dunsparce. It's a bit slow moving, but it does have quite a potent sting if you are unfortunate enough to step on it. So, but as a experienced ranger, you should know that when in one of the Poké Park areas, you should always keep an eye out for where you're stepping and keep an eye out for potential Pokemon in the grass. Right, Dunsparce is extremely friendly and just slow moving, and always enjoys a nice pat on the head and tell it how special it is, and make sure it feels happy and confident. And it's another one that you can feed out of your hand. This is one of the more, I would say, areas that are more interactive. You can usually feed the Pokemon out of your hand and pet most of them, except for, like I said, Shy Kricketune. Other Pokemon, we do have a Farfetch'd. Now, Farfetch'd will usually hang back in the bushes. It takes a bit for Farfetch'd to gain, or it takes a bit to gain Farfetch'd trust, and once you do, though, it's going to follow you around every time you're in the area. But it's a bit leery. It might hold its leak out defensively the first couple times that you enter the area, but in those situations, once again, just place the food on the ground, back away, kneel down, and let it come up, eat the food, and maybe each time place it just a bit closer to you, and eventually you can reach out and pet it and let it know that you care about it. And then at that point, it's going to be your friend for life, I assure you. It sees me already, so I'm sure that it's wondering why I have this stranger with me. But it's alright, Farfetch'd, don't worry. This is a new friend. Right, any questions about Area 3? No need to water any of the flowers. They're all pollinated and watered naturally by Pokemon, and we sometimes will place a water-type Pokemon in this area temporarily just to refresh the plants and flora. Okay, well, we have one more area to take a look at. Make sure you are taking or keeping your eye out for those shiny Pokemon. Right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and head to Area 4. Well, here we are at the last area on the job training tour. This is Area 4, known as the Temperate Hills. This is a bit more of our neutral biome, so sometimes it's just a bit cooler, so we can keep some of the more mountainous Pokemon, but still has those grassy plains that are liked by a lot of the Pokemon you see before you, and then trees to house some of the Pokemon that like a bit more secure areas to perch or rest. Right, you can see the playful Apom there in the tree. Now, one thing to keep an eye out for that trickster there is make sure that you always have your backpack secure and straps over the shoulder, because that Apom is known for trying to swipe some of your items if you don't have them securely in hand. So never set your backpack on the ground while you are feeding some of the other Pokemon, because you'll have to be climbing a tree or calling a ranger like myself to retrieve it, if so. Right, never a good way to ingratiate yourself with some of the veteran rangers to retrieve your backpack out of the Apom's tree. But beyond that, Apom will usually skitter down and eat out of your hand, so it's extremely friendly. Other Pokemon in this area, as you can see, I do have this potion at the ready because we've had a Teddy Ursa that's just been accident prone recently, but actually it seems to be doing much better. It's a bit shy, so it likes to hang out behind the bushes, but it's curious at the same time, so it usually can't help but it's kind of coming closer and closer. So usually after maybe 1 or 2 times of mating it, you can feed it out of your hand as well. It's quite friendly, always enjoys a pat on the head. Quite cute too. We have a population of Stantler that like to roam the hills. They will steer clear, and usually you need to just feed them in the trough. It's usually over the next hill, so walk out into the area, line the trough with the Stantler food, and then just leave it, and they'll graze and eat. Of course, all of the foods are specialized for each Pokemon, so you don't have to worry about any of the other Pokemon stealing each other's food, because they won't try it unless it's their own. It's just the special ingredient we have here at the Pika Poké Park. But the Stantler are always really majestic. I actually think I see one out there watching us now, wondering who's in its territory. Not a problem, it will always keep a distance. Other Pokemon we have some Jigglypuff that like to make their homes in the bushes or in the tall grass or sometimes even the trees. And you can hear their songs echoing throughout the hills, but be careful not to get too close if you do hear an especially potent song, because you might just find yourself asleep on the ground after a few hours passed, and then I'm sure at that point Apom will have pilfered through all of your items, and then of course you have to call the ranger like we just said. One moment, I apologize. It's call after call today. Go ahead. I've told you guys multiple times that I'm on a first day tour with our new hire, so please, unless it's something extremely...
We have your lunch order.
Lunch order.
Yes, your salad is here, sir.
Oh, right. Yeah, it is that time. Just the usual, don't worry about it.
More specific, I have multiple salads.
You don't remember. Yeah, just the caprese salad, please.
That's right, your caprese is here. Would you like that extra mozzarella?
Extra mozzarella, yeah.
Roger that, sir, roger that.
Okay, thank you. Just some important Pika Park business there. Now, where were we? We also have a parent and child couple here. So we have a Nidoqueen and Nidorina somewhere. They are always together, so if you do see one, then just always make sure that you see the other, but it's usually in the vicinity of the mother or vice versa. But not to worry, they're not as protective over their young as the Kangaskhan are, so you can always feed the Nidorina, and don't worry about the Nidoqueen. They are very perceptive of threats, so they'll know that you are friend and not foe. But any questions about any of the Pokemon that we've seen here in the Tempered Hills? Okay, well, we can go ahead and head back to the lobby, and let's go ahead and get you assessed on that shiny hunt that we've been on. All right, let's go. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed your first day training tour. Let's go ahead and get that shiny assessment. How many Pokemon did you spot in areas 1 through 4 that were shiny? All right, I'm just going to enter it into our database here through my Pokégear. All right, well, you should have spotted 5 shiny Pokemon on today's tour. Right, like I said, we boast one of the largest shiny populations in any of the parks across the R&R region, so it's no surprise that you were able to spot that many. Now, the specific Pokemon. In Area 1, we do have Durant, right? That Durant is shiny as well as Devious. Area 2, Slacking. Slacking has a bit of a difficult shiny variant to notice, but it is indeed shiny. Area 3, Dunsparce, quite the obvious one there. And then in Area 4, we had Jigglypuff and Nidoqueen. That Jigglypuff, it's always the eyes. You need to look for the eyes, and then Nidoqueen is just a bit more obvious. Well, congratulations. You successfully made it through your first day of training. I can't wait to see your official first day tomorrow on your own. And remember those tips and those job responsibilities, and I'm sure you'll be promoted to Senior Ranger in no time. All right, well, with that said, I have important business to see to that I got that call on earlier, so I'm going to go take care of that quick. You can go ahead and take a look around and enjoy the rest of your day. All right, it's going to be great working with you.